And we're back! Hello everyone, it's me again, Happy Bear, your friendly neighborhood host for this next run, and I am so pumped for this one. It's going to be an all silver medals run of We Play by Resonation, and when I tell you that I was so bad at We Play when I was a youngster, I couldn't get past level 2 of tanks, I could barely point the Wii remote everywhere. Yeah, it's probably good that we moved past the motion controls era for this gamer, but we are so pumped to have Resonation do this round for us. And Resonation, I believe we're ready for you, so it's all you.
Alright, so, hi, I'm Resonation. Today we're going to be doing a run of, as mentioned before, all silver medals, so there are 9 games for us to do. They're all very unique, very different from one another. And we're going to be starting on billiards, and time is going to start upon when I click the start over button. And joining me today with commentary is SM Midi, a very good player. He currently holds world record in this category. But yeah, I think I'm ready to start. So timing will start on start over. So 3, 2, 1, and go. And Midi, you can do the explaining.
Good luck.
Billiards.
Yeah, so there's a little bit to explain on billiards. So starting off, Maya pretty much just aiming right and up a little bit. That's pretty much the only strat we have for billiards. It's very RNG heavy. Getting a 3 break at the beginning, and not just that, but a position on the target ball right over the pocket, so you can instantly just do topspin straight into the pocket, which is very convenient. Now, the silver medals, all the medals in this game, are based on a score target. So Maya's going to need to hit that target, so we achieve the medal. Now, the silver medal target is quite lenient, so you can literally get a foul on most shots and still comfortably get silver. Getting a 3 break at the beginning as well means that only 1 shot was taken for that. Speeds up the game as well, and this is a very, very nice billiards. Literally 7 shots and we're done. First try. That's amazing.
That's amazing.
That, honestly, that is more than what you'd expect on average. So that's fantastic. And actually not getting a foul on that final shot because I believe it's slightly faster. And that is 1 silver medal already done. We're moving on to tanks now. Now, there's a lot going on in tanks. We're going to be seeing 10 missions today. Now, the first tank we're going to be seeing, the tank grade, is the brown tank. It doesn't actually move and doesn't fire too often, so there's not too much to contend with there. And then we're going to see grey tanks. The grey tanks have a defensive trait, which means they're going to run away a lot, and that's not helpful for a speedrun. So, thankfully, this one pretty much always runs forward towards you, which is good. Clearing that one out there, and that's absolutely fine. We'll start to see a few more things going on, like these stone walls. They can be broken using mines. Maya has a bullet limit of 5 and a mine limit of 2. And also, before I forget to mention, there is a big thing in this game, in that even though this is a widescreen game, we play as widescreen 16:9. This is one of a very exclusive club on in speedrunning in general and on the Wii, where it's faster to run on 4:3, and that is pretty much just for tanks, because the game is literally squished. That was a very nice defense there. Yeah, the game is squished, so the playing field is essentially smaller. It makes the game a little bit harder. Most people would say it makes it harder, but it does make it faster for a speedrun by quite a considerable margin, a few seconds on every mission, pretty much. Now, these teal tanks, they fire rocket bullets, and they also have the defensive trait, so they are hard to deal with, especially with their debut being on a very open mission. Now, missions 1 to 20 are all predetermined. You get the same tank grades and the same layouts every time. So, in these first 10 missions, there's not too much that's completely unpredictable. If you were playing a longer run, that ends up having some randomized elements. So, another thing you can do is fire at walls to make sure you get your bullets back quicker. Again, that bullet limit of 5 does make this quite difficult to deal with them sometimes, because if you fire straight down an entire open space, you're not going to get those bullets back for a very long time. Now, that is down to preference. in this game. It really depends on the runner and how that person feels comfortable to play the game. But there are tanks ILs, and tanks ILs will pretty much always, at the top level, be doing something like that to make sure that bullets are being productive as much as possible. So there's a lot of walls in the way on Mission 7 there, and that Teal tank just showing its defensive trait, being very awkward right now. As long as you spray a few bullets in different directions, it kind of means that the Teal can't do too much. Mission 8, yellow tanks debut, and they have a mine limit of 4. So they will plant mines a lot. They also are very random with their movement. And they also kind of trap themselves quite a lot in their own mines, like that one did just there. So they can be kind of difficult to deal with because of their unpredictable movement. Some other tanks are a lot more, even though all the tanks are pretty unpredictable, the yellows are even more so. So that one actually trapping itself in with that mine means it's not really going to move very far, which is convenient. And then just 2 more missions to go before Maya closes out tanks here. Again, more greys and yellows to deal with. And because this is a 2.5 dimensional game, if for example, yellow tank places a mine right at the bottom on Mission 9, you pretty much can't see it. So you do have to be very aware with the sound effects, what is going on most of the time in this game. Makes it very, very useful. And then the final level, Mission 10, you see red tanks. So these do have a faster fire rate, or max fire rate. They do again have a bullet limit similar to the player, but you do not have a fire rate as the player. You just have to press B faster than the red tanks fire at you. So you can just take them out there. And because the game doesn't actually end at Mission 10, Maya's going to have to take some deaths just to finish it off here. And that is essentially tanks done. That is one of the longer medals in this game. Very good to get out of the way. And only 1 death, I believe. So the good thing with silvers as well is that even though there was a death, you would pretty much have to see that death screen anyway. Whereas if you were doing a longer run like gold medals, where the game actually ends at Mission 20, you technically don't have to see that death screen. So although you do technically lose a little bit of time, it's not nearly as much as runs like that. Achieving the silver medal there. Next one is fishing.
So fishing is a pretty standard game, but in my opinion, it is probably the worst game that We Play has to offer. But it has the best sprites, of course. I love the fish in We Play Fishing.
Who doesn't love the We Play Fishing?
It's a pretty standard game, so we have... I mean, fishing on a whole is a pretty easy concept to understand, but essentially we have... in order to get the medal we want, we need 1,600 points. There are, I believe, 6 different types of fish, and all of them have different point values, so... But at the end of the day, we usually want to catch high-value fishes on high multipliers. I say high multipliers. The bonus only doubles the multiplier. But yeah, so... Our goal is to get 1,600 points, so the most common strategy, the one that you'll see me do, is get to around 1,000 points, then wait for a fish called the King of the Pond, who I believe the minimum he can give you is 320. So if you get him on the double, you're getting about 640 points, guaranteed, usually a bit more, and he is set to spawn on a certain interval. Just got to make sure that I get him and not someone else. And there we go. So that's it for fishing, really.
Nice.
As fishing is pretty much an auto-scroller for runs where we don't collect medals, so basically we want to get as little fish as possible, as the game's on a timer, so we only slow it down by getting fish.
Maya being very modest there. It is difficult to get a 5 fish. It depends a little bit on the bonuses, but Maya playing pretty well. They're getting a mystery fish as well, which do just appear randomly, and you can get 0. Next game, by the way, is table tennis. But yeah, very nice there. And essentially, the reason you want to catch less fish is because there is an invisible timer in the game. Every time you catch a fish, it pauses. So you save a few seconds for each fish you decide not to catch. So table tennis is very simple in one player. This is a lot more of an in-depth game if you're playing with 2 players in Wii Play. There's spin and stuff involved and everything, which is hard to implement with motion controls with the Wii remote. But essentially in one player, the ball will only move left, middle, or right. It speeds up the further you get into the game, and we need 70 points for Maya to get a silver medal on this game. So this, again, similar to tanks, it ends at 100, but obviously we're only going to get to 70 here. It is difficult. A lot of people, when they're starting out with this game, do tend to put table tennis quite early, because it's difficult to get used to. It's pretty much just a reaction time game. Now, you can play closer to the net, and you do save a little bit of time, a few frames each shot. You can play further back, which is safer, but it is, of course, a little bit slower. You don't want to play too far forward or back, though, because you will either get an obstruction or not hit the ball.
I believe the best thing about We Play Table Tennis is that you get to see a demonstration of everybody's creativity when it comes to their Miis. I mean, my best work I don't think was on offer there, but you guys definitely got to see some of my good works. But now we're moving on to laser hockey, which again is an auto-scroller, only this time we can see the timer. So we're aiming to get 7 points. And good thing about this is that you just need to get 7 points. It's not 7 more than your opponent, which is great because after every goal you get, the AI gets a little bit better. And there's no throwing you a bone or anything. It's a pretty standard game. We just want to get our goals in as fast as possible. And then usually you can take a break. So obviously, as mentioned in tanks, you can play on 4x3 or 16x9, and as 4x3 squishes it, it actually makes the game a lot harder. However, I've got my 7 points and I'm good to stop, so we just have to wait 85 seconds, really. I'm going to keep the puck in the corner. Yeah, so it's a pretty standard game. Good to have it a midpoint just to get a rest. I'm going to get a drink of water quickly.
Absolutely. Well, using the back of the paddle there as well means that the ball just stops dead. You can just put it in the corner.
Yeah.
But yeah, on 4-3 on something like a higher tier medal like Platinum, having to get 14 points, it does make it a very difficult transition from 16-9 to 4-3 speedrun.
I've never actually been able to get the Platinum medal for laser hockey on 4x3. I've only ever done it on 16x9. But also, before the timer runs out, I would just like to mention a recent strategy that's been used within this run, which we call score skip, and it was found by me earlier in the year, where basically you'll notice after, if you've ever played Wii Play before, once you get your new best on a game, it shows up on the leaderboard and your Mii does a little dance before earning their medal or moving to the next game. But what you'll find is that if you fill up the leaderboards before you unlock medals, your Mii will not do the dance, and you'll see it happen here. So my Mii won't do the dance, but I'll still get the medal. And so it doesn't break the rules set by the leaderboards, as I still get the medal animation and I still get the medal. I just save a 3-second cutscene. And as you may notice, there are 9 games. 3 times 9 is 27. So saves a good bit of time throughout the run. But anyway, we are now on to Find Me, which I believe is one of the best games. Pretty simple. We could just get a criteria such as find 2 lookalikes, which means the same person twice. And yeah, it's pretty standard. There's a few strategies that will come into play throughout this run. One of them can be seen now, but another one will happen later on. So the 2 main strategies we use within Find Me are Hat Strat, which as you can see there, is when you have your Miis, if you give them a weird look or like a hat, it means that they stand out from the crowd and they're easier to find. Alternatively, you can make them look as silly as possible, or you can have like a burger, you can have Peter Griffin, all sorts of stuff. It's really up to the runner themselves. I think it might be that blonde person.
This is the only speedrun in existence where making a Peter Griffin Mii is beneficial.
Yeah.
So this is a very awkward level. Level 8, the issue with this one is that lots of Miis they're all going slow, which means they're going to take a while to wrap around the screen. And not just that, 4 to 3 does squish the screen a bit. And also, if they do end up wrapping around, it's just really hard to find the correct answer. Now, as long as Maya's able to get through this level, it's no big deal. In a PB attempt, this is a very awkward level. This is one of the main reasons people put the classic trio at the beginning, billiards always at the beginning, and then either tanks or find me. Again, up to preference, because there is a lot of customization in this run, it's completely up to preference. But this is, again, there's so much variance in find me, especially with the level 8, that naturally it goes quite early.
Yeah, so the reason I have find me at 6th is obviously in my PB I have it 3rd. And most people will have it in the first 3. I have it at 6th because I find myself in a position where I never fail find me. It's my, probably my best game, and I never fail the medals. I can do them consistently. So when it comes to demonstrating in a marathon where I won't reset, it's a pretty good idea, in my opinion, to have it later on, because I want the ones that I could mess up to be at the start, so I can get them out of the way quickly. And yeah, so
it's worth mentioning as well, if I should jump in, with the hat strat. Now, the Mii Maker has a little bit more customization than that, but you'll notice that all the Miis, they don't, their heights and weights are not accounted for in Find Me. They are all the same. Also, their favorite color, their shirt is kind of a pastel color. They are not the actual favorite colors that you see in the Mii Maker. But that is why Maya's got hats and beanies and things on the Miis, so that the hat colors do come through. That is not something they thought about, or maybe it's intended. But in terms of most other stuff you can customize, you will not notice a difference in Find Me, and that's what makes the game so hard.
yeah. So realistically, if you can get for yourself on your Wii, if you can get like 75 Miis other than your own that all look unique and are all easy to spot from one another, it can give you a good advantage. A lot of the time, however, there will be there will be rounds like this. I believe is not one of my custom Miis. Oh no, it is. It's Green Hat. They just weren't on the screen. But there will always be computer-generated Miis to be the right answer occasionally. So you gotta look out for that. But yeah, another strategy that we'll see in a few of the rounds here is called hitbox strategy, which I believe, I'm not sure if you can do it on 16:9, but it's definitely a lot easier on 4:3, which is where if you're hovering over a group of Miis and one of them is correct, it will stand out from the crowd. So for example there, oh, that's not the right one.
It kind of does help there, to be fair. Most stairs levels later on, at this sort of time now, because there are, 5 or 6 rows, you can just sort of move the cursor along the screen, and it's very noticeable when you know what you're looking for, that there are Miis with much bigger hitboxes, and it does help for a game like this. Important to note as well on that mission, or that level that was just there, these escalator levels, there can only be one correct Mii on each escalator. So, especially on where you're finding 3 correct Miis, it is very useful to just search the one with the least Miis, and you know that one of those will be correct.
Yeah. So we have a couple unique levels here. So pick your favorite basically means you choose your favorite Mii and he'll come up later to prove if he really is your favorite. And odd one out is basically one of these Miis will walk on a different foot to all the others. And it's quite misleading, quite hard to figure out initially. Where is he? There he is. Quite hard to figure out initially, but after you do it a while, you will come to notice that the incorrect Mii always leads on their right foot. And after you realize that, it becomes a lot more easy. And so we only have a couple of levels left. And I believe it's you. And before we get our silver medal, we need 40 levels for the silver medal. And we're all level 40, but we do not complete it. What we do is, you'll notice here, every time I click a Mii and I get it wrong, I lose 5 seconds. But level 41, which you would expect to give up on, level 41 is find 2 lookalikes. So you would actually be clicking the remote twice in order to get that. So it is faster for us to just locate where our Mii is and get the timer down, and then we get onto this level with, like 13 seconds left. And then we can just, pick our 2 favorite random Miis and get the give up. And there we go, that's Find Mii. I'd say it's a pretty good game, but it's very important within the run. And of course, level 8, if you get a bad level 8, there's no chance that you're getting a good run. Do you want to talk about Pose Mii then, Midi?
Absolutely. So, Pose Mii, this is another game where we're using a lot more of the pointer controls. So this one, each level has certain patterns. At the beginning, we're actually not going to need to change poses during the levels, and we will see that later on though. But there is a specific characteristic with this one, and that it will always change the angle of the pose at the 27th point. So after that, it's pretty predictable. It will just stay on that side with a little bit of variance with the angle. It will kind of snap into place a little bit because the Wii Remote's not too precise, especially if you've not got a great sensor bar setup. This is probably the game where you find out about that setup because you can only really do this if, or at a fast point, if you're able to point at the screen exactly where the bubbles are spawning anywhere on the screen. Now, again, it's important to note for this one, like fishing, there is an invisible timer in this game of about 30 seconds. So the bubbles will continue to spawn, and there always has to be one on the screen at all times. After that 30-second cutscene, 30-second timer runs out, the bubbles will stop spawning. So that means you can't clear levels too early. Of course, the only way of clearing them early really is just to clear the last bubbles once that timer runs out. But you can get more points, so that means you can finish the entire threshold, which is 400 points for silver, slightly early, but you can't necessarily finish each individual level itself early. So this one, again, no changing poses halfway through, but the bubbles do get quite fast, and this is really important if you're starting to learn this game. It can be useful if you're really struggling to reach the medal requirement to actually play slow on the levels, because the levels get harder as you go through, and because if you don't drop a life on a level, you get a little perfect bonus, which is 5 points times the level number. It can be useful to play a little slower. Obviously, it's not optimal, but if you're absolutely not able to get the medal without doing that, and you just want to run on the board, then that is a completely valid strategy. So here, this is a level where Maya's having to change their pose a few times. But again, patterns, once you get used to this game, they do exist, and they do make the game a little bit easier.
Yeah, I've been playing quite safe, just because usually I get pretty big nerves when it comes to Pose Mii, and my level 3 was not very ideal for me, in my opinion, but it's definitely a good game. You can definitely save and lose a lot of time here, though, so if you are considering to run silver medals, definitely make sure that you're good at pose me. And usually we would be hoping to reach our point requirement on level 6 here. I'm not sure if I've quite made the cycle, although I'm going to be trying my best to give up on it. I'm gonna let that one.
One way to find out, and that's the try.
Yep. So we need exactly 400 points for the medal. I feel like we probably missed a lot of medal requirements throughout this run, but I mean, yeah, so one more. Okay, there we go. Just barely getting it, and that's Pose Me. It's a very good game in my opinion. It actually has its own sequel, and We Play Motion. But that's for another marathon. And then we're
class is very cool.
We're going to be moving on
Kind
to
of like hole in the wall.
Yeah.
Next up, shooting range.
So pretty easy. Just shoot the targets. It's the game that everyone should remember from We Play, and it's the first game you get to play. You'll see that we get a lot of ducks that spawn in, and if we hit them, we get bonus points, so they are crucial for this run. Unfortunately, I'm playing without audio, so that it doesn't come through my mic, so I can't actually hear the cue for when they come on, although it is pretty standard each time, so my memory should be enough for me. And yeah, so target round is pretty simple. We just want to shoot the targets. Every time for 2 out of 4 of the rounds where you shoot a target, a new one spawns in. And so, realistically, if it was fast enough, I wouldn't have played that round. But I felt that it would be worthy for the medal, and I forgot to put batteries in a second Wii remote.
That's fine.
So
you can actually use more than one Wii remote for the shooting range, which is quite funny. And it does make this slightly faster, especially for the clay pigeons, mainly for the end. So these will spawn in pretty much at set times, but the moment the last 2 spawn in is when you can technically end the level. Now, the level can end by default if the clay pigeons just fall to the bottom of the screen where the grass is, but that would take way longer, several seconds, than it would to just shoot them. And definitely on shooting range, it is worth noting that if you want to get into this game, this is one of the biggest culprits for being a game that people did not know the score requirements for. So it was originally thought to be a lot higher for this game, in pretty much most of the medal requirements. Like bronze was originally thought to be 250, it was actually 200. And the big thing was laser hockey was thought to be 5 goals, it was actually 3. So we had world records that lost 3 seconds, pretty much. But if you want to get into this game, absolutely check speedrun.com resources, where there is a cheat sheet for every medal threshold, which is tested and is accurate for this game. Finally, though, Charge. Very quick game at the end, only about a minute long.
So Charge is a pretty simple game where our goal is pretty much, as a cow, we're gonna want to knock over as many scarecrows here as possible, and we need to get 250 points in order to get our silver medal. I'm playing a relatively safe strategy in which I should probably be getting about 270 points at the end, as we get 1 point for each scarecrow, unless it's a king one. I mean, I don't think they're canonically called kings, I just like to call them that. We get 10 of them, and we get 5 if we get all of the ones in a row. And yeah, it's a very short game, as you'll notice, but one to be definitely good at, as it saves a lot of time, as yeah, the faster you get to the end, the more points you get, and of course you save time. It's the only one with a timer, so it was designed for speedrunning. But anyway, that's
I mean,
besides
it's coming
the
up
point.
on the banner in the menu, by the way.
So when I get to the menu and it says silver medal unlocked, that is when timing ends.
And yeah,
there
shout
we
out
go.
to Dion on Charge. Dion's put so much work into Charge.
Yeah, that is the silver medal run complete. What was the time?
It looks like time was about 28:40.
Nice. Okay, I'm absolutely happy with that. Thank you so much for having me. And yeah, so if anyone in chat is wondering if they're wanting to get into speedrunning Wii Play or any other Wii series game, I would invite you to join Wii Series Speedrunning. It's a Discord server. I mean, if you type it into the Discover tab, it comes up. There's lots of people there that would be happy to help you get into it. If you're ever struggling with anything, just ping one of the mods. They'd be happy to help you out. I believe Silver Medals is a great entry-level run to what Wii Play has to offer. Great showcase of the games. And yeah, thank you once again for having me. Any last things you want to say, Midi?
No, other than definitely go and follow Maya on Twitch. The username is on screen right now, r350n4t10n. Once you've unlocked the password, you can then watch more We Play Silver Medals runs.
Yeah. So I think I might just self-promote at the end. So yeah, just go on my Twitch. I would more suggest that you watch my YouTube because I upload a lot on it. It's called Resonation. If it doesn't come up immediately, just type in Resonation Wii. It probably will. I have a Discord server. You should probably join that too. But yeah, I think that's it for the run. Thank you once again for having us. And yeah.
Sounds good. Well, thank you both. That was a very entertaining speedrun. I definitely enjoyed seeing that. And yeah, I'm tempted to run Wii Play now. I was thinking to myself as I was watching, wow, this would be really fun to do. So you may see me around at one point, but yeah, let's give our runners a hand. And unfortunately, everyone, my time as host is coming to a close, but we have had a very, very rad time here, and we've got another wonderful run coming up at Garlips with Asper Scare School any percent. It's going to be scary, so don't go away. We will be right back. Thank you, everyone.